Eleanor Whitmore ate alone. Every single night, she sat at one end of an 18-seat dining table, while 17 empty chairs stared back at her. Crystal silver silence. She was worth $400 million, and she had no one. But right now in this exact dining room, something incredible was happening. Children were laughing. A woman was smiling. And Eleanor, for the first time in 38 years, looked happy. How did we get here? It started 8 weeks ago with a single mother who had $83 to her name, a 6-year-old boy who hummed the wrong song at the wrong time, and one strict rule that should never have been broken. Janelle Williams thought she was just taking a job to survive. She had no idea she was about to fill the loneliest room in America with something money couldn't buy. This is how it happened. The alarm screamed at 5:15 in the morning. Janelle Williams reached across the darkness and slapped it silent. For 3 seconds, she let herself stay still, eyes closed, pretending today might be different. It wouldn't be. She sat up on the pull-out couch and looked at her son. Caleb was 6 years old, curled around a stuffed elephant that had lost one eye and most of its stuffing. His chest rose and fell in perfect peace. At least one of them was sleeping well. Janelle moved quietly to their tiny kitchenette studio apartment. For 100 square feet, she filled a pot with water for oatmeal and counted the bills stuck to the refrigerator with a smiley face magnet Caleb had made in kindergarten. Electric company. Final notice. Rent. Second warning. She opened her wallet. $83 until Friday. For days away. Janelle touched Caleb's forehead gently. Morning, sunshine, baby. His eyes opened, brown and clear and full of trust. Is today a work day or a work day, Mama? Her heart cracked. He was 6. He shouldn't have to ask questions like that. Work day, baby. 3 jobs today. Caleb nodded. Okay, I'll be extra good at after hour. That was what killed her. He never complained, never asked for things they couldn't afford. He just smiled at her like she hung the moon. They ate oatmeal together. Caleb told her about a cloud that looked like a dragon. Janelle packed his lunch and laid out his school clothes. At 6:30, they walked to the bus stop holding hands. Mama, why do some people have big houses and we have small ones? Janelle knelt down on the sidewalk. Because everyone's story is different, baby. Ours is still being written. What's going to happen in our story? Good things. I'm working on it. At school, his teacher pulled Janelle aside. Caleb fell asleep during reading time again. Is everything all right at home? Janelle forced her brightest smile. Just busy. I'll make sure he gets more rest. She walked away before the tears could come. Job number 1 was the grocery store. 8 until 2. Stocking shelves, rotating inventory, cleaning spills. Her feet act by noon. At lunch break, she scrolled through her phone. Community job boards, Craigslist, anything that might pay better. That's when she saw it. Live-in nanny housekeeper needed private residence, $800 week plus room, and board references required. Immediate start $800 a week, more than all 3 jobs combined. And room and board meant she could stop paying rent. Her hands shook as she dialed. A woman answered. British accent, crisp and professional. Whitmore residence. Hi, I'm calling about the nanny position. Is it still available? It is. Do you have experience? Yes, ma'am. Childcare, housekeeping, cooking. I can provide references. A pause. Do you have children of your own? Janelle's stomach dropped. Yes. 1 son, 6 years old, very well behaved. He wouldn't be in any trouble. The silence stretched. Mrs. Whitmore's home has no children. It's not suitable for a child. He could stay in our room after school. Please, I really need this job. I'll speak with Mrs. Whitmore and call you back. The line went dead. Janelle stared at her phone. She wanted to cry. Instead, she went back to work. 2 days passed. The electric company called twice. Janelle worked all 3 jobs and picked up Caleb at 6:15 both nights. He was always the last kid waiting. Thursday evening, her phone rang while she made grilled cheese sandwiches. Unknown number. Ms. Williams. This is Margot from the Whitmore residence. Mrs. Whitmore has agreed to a trial period. 2 weeks. Your son may stay, but there are strict rules. Janelle sat down hard. Yes, whatever the rules are, we'll follow them. Work hours are 7 to 7, 6 days per week. Your son must stay in the staff quarters. No running through the main house. Mrs. Whitmore values silence and privacy. Minimal interaction unless she initiates. Janelle grabbed a pen. Dinner must be served at 7 sharp in the formal dining room. Mrs. Whitmore eats alone. Always, you serve and leave immediately. Something about that felt unbearably sad. When do I start? Tomorrow. I'll text the address. After the call, Janelle pulled Caleb onto her lap. Baby, we're going to live in a big house for a little while, but you have to be very, very quiet. The lady who owns it likes things peaceful. Can you do that? Caleb's eyes went wide. Is she nice? Janelle hesitated. I don't know yet, but we need this, so we'll be respectful. Okay, Mama. I'll be mouse quiet. That night, Janelle packed their belongings into 2 duffel bags. She looked around their studio apartment one last time. Tomorrow, they'd walk into a different world. What Janelle didn't know was that the woman who lived in that big house hadn't heard a child's voice in 38 years, and that Ella Laner Whitmore had spent those decades building walls so high nothing could reach her until now. They arrived at 9 in the morning after 2 buses and a 20-minute walk. Caleb stopped at the iron gates and stared. Mama, is this a castle? The estate stretched before them like something from a movie. Perfectly manicured lawns, a fountain with stone angels, and at the center, a mansion of pristine white stone with columns and balconies that caught the morning sun. Remember what I said, mouse quiet, don't touch anything. Yes, Mama. A woman opened the service entrance before Janelle could knock. Margot looked exactly like she sounded. 60-some, British, perfectly pressed gray dress. Eyes that missed nothing. Those eyes landed on Caleb and narrowed. Rosa didn't mention a child. Janelle's throat went dry. I explained on the phone. He'll be invisible, I promise. Margot studied them, then stepped aside. One noise, one broken item. You're both gone. Inside, Janelle tried not to stare. Marble floors, crystal sconces, paintings in gold frames. Everything is perfect. Everything untouched. Everything empty. Margot led them through room after room. A sitting room with furniture that looked unused. A music room with a grand piano covered in dust. A library with books that smelled like they'd never been opened. No family photos, no clutter, no sign anyone actually lived here. This is the carriage house. Margot showed them. A small apartment. Your quarters. The child stays here after school. He does not leave without permission. Caleb whispered, It's like a tiny house, Mama. The main kitchen was next. Professional grade everything. On the counter sat a clipboard. Today's dinner menu. Roasted chicken, asparagus, and wild rice. 7 o'clock sharp. Margot led them to the formal dining room. Janelle stopped in the doorway. The room was enormous. 18 chairs surrounded a mahogany table. Crystal chandelier, silver candelabras. China is worth more than a car. And at the far end, one place setting. Just one. Mrs. Whitmore dines here every evening alone. You'll place the food, pour wine, then leave immediately. Don't speak unless spoken to. Janelle stared at all those empty chairs. Does she ever have guests? Margot's face tightened. Not anymore, then softer. When you serve, don't linger. Mrs. Whitmore doesn't want company. Respect that. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Janelle cleaned bathrooms that sparkled already dusted furniture with no dust. Caleb colored quietly in the carriage house. At 6:45, Janelle plated the chicken perfectly. Her hands shook as she carried the tray. At exactly 7 o'clock, she pushed through the dining room door. Eleanor Whitmore was already seated. She sat at the far end, ramrod straight in a black dress, white hair and an elegant chignon, beautiful bone structure, probably 70, and her eyes were the emptiest thing Janelle had ever seen. Good evening, Mrs. Whitmore. Roasted chicken would just leave it. Cold, dismissive, not cruel, just absent. Janelle set the plate down, poured the wine. As she turned to leave, her foot caught the chair leg. She stumbled. The wine sloshed but didn't spill. Eleanor's eyes snapped up. For the first time, she actually looked at Janelle. I'm so sorry, ma'am. It won't happen again. Eleanor stared for a long moment. What's your name? Janelle Williams. Ma'am, you have a child. Not a question. A statement. Yes, ma'am. A son 6 years old. He's in the carriage house. He won't disturb you. Eleanor's hand trembled on her wine glass, so slightly. Janelle almost missed it. The silence stretched. See that he doesn't? Dismissal, clear and final. Janelle left quickly. In the kitchen, she leaned against the counter. Through the doorway, she could see Eleanor sitting motionless, hands folded, staring at the empty table. She hadn't touched her food, all that money, all that space. And the woman was more alone than Janelle had ever been. That night, Janelle tucked Caleb into bed. The quiet lady seemed sad. Mama, some people lose things they can't get back. Baby, can we make her happy? That's not our job, sweetheart. We're here to work. Be respectful and quiet. Okay. But as Janelle lay in her own bed, she couldn't stop thinking about those 18 empty chairs. What she didn't know was that Eleanor's reaction to hearing about Caleb wasn't random. The trembling hand, the stare, the almost question that died on her lips. Somewhere in this house was a story. A reason why a woman worth millions chose to eat alone every night. A reason why children weren't allowed. And tomorrow, Janelle would discover the first clue. Because at 9:30 that night, after the lights went dark, Janelle heard something that made her blood run cold. The sound of a woman crying softly, desperately, alone, coming from somewhere deep in the East Wing. Day 2 looked exactly like day 1. 7 in the morning, Janelle prepared breakfast. Poached eggs, toast, fresh fruit arranged on fine china. She carried it to the sunroom where Eleanor took her morning meal. Eleanor sat by the window, reading a newspaper. She didn't look up when Janelle entered. Didn't acknowledge the food being placed before her. Just turned another page with mechanical precision. Will there be anything else, ma'am? Silence. Janelle left quietly. That evening at 7 o'clock, she served dinner in the formal dining room. Grilled salmon, roasted vegetables, quinoa. Ella Lehner sat in her usual spot at the far end of the table. 17 empty chairs, one lonely woman. Janelle placed a plate, poured the wine, left without a word. Day 3. Same breakfast, same silence, same dinner, same empty table. Day 4. Ella Lehner spoke exactly 4 words during breakfast. The asparagus, prepared differently. Janelle's heart jumped. Of course, ma'am. How would you prefer it? But Eleanor had already returned to her newspaper. Day 5. Caleb asked a question at bedtime. Mama, why doesn't the quiet lady ever smile? Janelle pulled the blanket up to his chin. I think she's sad, baby. About what? I don't know. But she was starting to wonder, starting to notice things. The way Ella Lehner's hands sometimes paused over food, like she'd forgotten why she was holding the fork. The way she stared at the empty chairs, as if seeing ghosts. The way she wore only black every single day. Black. Day 6 was Sunday, their day off. Janelle and Caleb explored the neighborhood, found a park, ate sandwiches on a bench. It sure felt like freedom. But Janelle couldn't stop thinking about that massive house, that silent woman, those 18 chairs. Day 7, they were back. The routine continued. Then came day 9. Janelle was preparing dinner in the kitchen. Caleb sat at the small table doing homework. He hummed while he colored. Just a soft, absent-minded melody. The kind of sound happy children make when they don't even realize they're doing it. You are my sunshine. Janelle barely noticed. She was focused on the chicken, making sure it was perfect. At 6:50, she picked up the first course, butternut squash soup. Stay here, baby. I'll be right back. She didn't realize Caleb had followed her into the hallway. Didn't hear his soft footsteps behind her. Didn't know he was still humming. Janelle pushed through the dining room door. Eleanor was already seated in her usual spot. And then Janelle heard it behind her in the hallway. Caleb's voice, sweet and small, humming that tune. Ella Lehner's entire body went rigid. Her spoon froze halfway to her mouth. Her other hand gripped the table edge. White knuckles, trembling fingers. Janelle spun around. Caleb, I told you. Ella Laner's voice cut through the air like broken glass. Stop. Both Janelle and Caleb froze. Eleanor was staring past Janelle, staring at the hallway where Caleb stood. Her face had gone pale. Her breathing was shallow. The child. What is he humming? Caleb stepped into the doorway, innocent, confused by the adult tension he didn't understand. It's my favorite song. You are my sunshine. Do you know it? The silence that followed felt like falling. Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. She blinked rapidly, trying to stop them. Failed. I know it. Caleb smiled. My mama sings it to me every night. It makes me feel safe. Something broke in Eleanor's face. A crack in a dam that had held for decades. Take him back to your quarters. Her voice wasn't angry. It was breaking. Mrs. Whitmore, I'm so sorry. Now, please. Janelle grabbed Caleb's hand and pulled him away. Her heart pounded. This was it. They were getting fired. Day 9, and she'd ruined everything. Back in the carriage house. Caleb looked up at her with worried eyes. Did I do something bad, Mama? No, baby. No, you didn't do anything wrong. But her hands were shaking. At 10 o'clock that night, long after Caleb was asleep, someone knocked on the carriage house door. Janelle opened it to find Margot standing there with a tea tray. May I come in? They sat at the small table. Margot poured 2 cups in silence. Finally, she spoke. You should know something. Mrs. Whitmore had a son, Daniel. He died when he was 6 years old. Leukemia. That was 38 years ago. Janelle's stomach dropped. Oh, God. I didn't know. You Are My Sunshine was his favorite song. She used to sing it to him every night before bed. Janelle covered her mouth with her hand. Margot continued, her voice quiet. After Daniel died, Mr. Whitmore couldn't cope. He left within a year. Ella Laner threw herself into building a foundation in Daniel's name, made it her entire life, but she also made a rule. No children allowed in this house ever. She couldn't bear it. Should we leave? Margot looked at her thoughtfully. That's a strange thing. She didn't fire you tonight. She could have. She's fired others for much less. She paused. Maybe it's time someone stayed. After Margot left, Janelle stood at the window, looking at the main house. Most of it was dark, but one light burned in an upstairs window. She wondered if Eleanor was crying again. The next morning, Janelle walked to the main house expecting termination. Instead, she found a note on the kitchen counter, handwritten, elegant script. Your son may use a library in the afternoons. The book should be read. E.W. Janelle read it 3 times. That afternoon, she brought Caleb to the library. He chose a picture book and sat cross-legged on the floor, completely absorbed. 20 minutes later, Eleanor appeared in the doorway. She didn't enter, just stood there, watching Caleb turn pages. He looked up, saw her, smiled, and waved. Hi. Eleanor didn't respond, but she didn't leave either. She stood there for 5 full seconds watching him. Then she turned and walked away. But something had shifted. Day 11. Eleanor appeared in the kitchen mid-afternoon. First time she'd come to the kitchen while Janelle was working. The chicken yesterday. It was good. What was the recipe? Janelle looked up surprised. My grandmother's. Ma'am, I can write it down if you'd like. No need. Just make it again Friday. And then, so small Janelle almost missed it. Ella Laner smiled. Tiny, barely there, but real. Day 12. Caleb was drawing at the kitchen table while Janelle prepped dinner. Eleanor came in for tea. She saw his drawing. A house with people in the windows. What's this? Caleb held up proudly. Our new home. See, that's Mama in the kitchen. That's me in the library. And that's you watching from the window. Eleanor went very still. Why did you put me in it? Because you live here, too. And you looked lonely. I thought, maybe you want to be part of the house, too. Eleanor stared at the drawing, at this child's simple understanding of her isolation. May I keep this? Caleb beamed. Yes, I can make you more if you want. Eleanor took the drawing carefully, like it was made of glass. Thank you. That evening, Janelle served dinner as usual, but something was different. Ella Lehner spoke first. How is your son's day? Janelle nearly dropped the wine bottle. He learned about planets. He's very excited about Saturn. The rings. Ella Lehner's voice softened. Daniel loved those, too. The first time she'd said his name out loud to Janelle. What else did Daniel love? Eleanor looked at the empty chairs surrounding her. Grilled cheese sandwiches, baseball. He collected bugs in jars. A small laugh. Painful but genuine. And noise. So much noise. This house used to be full of it. Used to be. Past tense. 38 years of silence. Janelle sat down the wine, made a decision. Mrs. Whitmore, would you like me to stay while you eat? Eleanor looked up sharply, surprised, uncertain. For a long moment, she didn't answer. Then, so quietly, Janelle barely heard it. Yes, I think I would. Janelle pulled out the chair next to Eleanor, not at the far end, close enough to talk. They ate in silence at first. Then Eleanor asked about Caleb's school, about Janelle's grandmother, about small things that felt enormous. By the end of week 2, something impossible was happening. The dining room table still had 17 empty chairs, but 2 of them had found their purpose. Day 17 started with a weather warning. Severe thunderstorms, high winds, schools dismissing early. Janelle picked up Caleb at noon. Dark clouds rolled in fast. By 5:30, the storm hit hard. Rain hammered the carriage house. Wind screamed through the trees. Thunder cracked so loud the walls shook. Caleb, who'd been afraid of thunder since he was 3, started sobbing. Mama, make it stop. Janelle held him tight. It's okay, baby. Just noise. Another boom. The lights flickered. Caleb buried his face in her shoulder, shaking. The carriage house was detached, exposed. The windows rattled violently. Janelle made a decision. She wrapped Caleb in a blanket and ran through the rain to the main house. They burst through the kitchen entrance, both soaking wet. Caleb is still crying. Eleanor appeared in the doorway, hair loose, cardigan instead of formal dress, almost human. What's happening? I'm sorry, the storm. He's terrified. I didn't know where else. Thunder exploded. Caleb screamed. Eleanor stared at them, at this crying child in her pristine kitchen. Then she spoke quietly. Bring him to the library. There's a fireplace. You don't have to. The kitchen is cold. Come. The library fire was already burning. Eleanor gestured to the sofa. Sit. Janelle sat with Caleb. Eleanor disappeared and returned with quilts. She tucked one around Caleb without a word. Movements carefully gentle. Thunder boomed. Caleb whimpered. Eleanor sat in the chair across from them, closer than she'd ever been. When I was a girl, my father told me thunder was clouds bowling. The louder it was, the more strikes they got. Caleb peeked out. Really? Really? Lightning is a scoreboard. Who's winning? The clouds always. A tiny smile broke through his tears. Eleanor told stories about childhood storms, about being scared. 2, about learning that loud things weren't always dangerous. Caleb's breathing slowed. By 7:15, he was asleep. Eleanor looked at the clock. You haven't made dinner. I'm sorry. Don't wake him. I'll have something brought in. She called Margot, requested sandwiches and soup. When food arrived, Eleanor didn't leave for the dining room. She set up the tray on the library table. You should eat, too. I couldn't, Janelle. First time using her name. Sit. Eat. They ate in comfortable silence. Fire crackling, rain pattering. Caleb is sleeping. Eleanor spoke first. You're a good mother. I'm trying. That's all we can do. Try our best and hope it's enough. Eleanor's voice grew distant. I tried, too. It wasn't enough to save him. You can't blame yourself for illness. I don't. I blame myself for letting his death kill me, too. Eleanor stared at the fire. For wasting 38 years. Janelle listened. This house used to be full of life. Daniel's friends, birthday parties, laughter. After he died, I couldn't bear the memories. So I erased them, covered the piano, stopped inviting anyone. I thought silence would stop the pain. Did it? No, it just made me silent, too. Eleanor looked at Caleb sleeping. He reminded me of what I lost, but also what I gave up. Life connection. She turned to Janelle. Thank you for bringing him here tonight. You invited us in. First time in 38 years. Eleanor's voice cracked. It's terrifying, but I didn't realize how much I missed it. When the storm passed, Caleb woke groggy and calm. Walking back to the carriage house, Janelle looked back. Eleanor stood in the library window watching. For the first time, the house didn't look quite so empty. And the next evening, when Janelle came to serve dinner, she found something that made her heart skip. 3 place settings at the table, not spread out, together at one end. A note in Ella Laner's handwriting. If you and Kayla would join me, E.W., that evening. Janelle stared at the note until her hands stopped shaking. 3 place settings and invitation. At 7 o'clock, she and Caleb walked into the dining room. Eleanor sat at the head of the table. 2 places set beside her. Good evening. Her voice was softer, almost nervous. Caleb climbed into his chair. Thank you for inviting us, Miss Eleanor. Thank you for keeping an old woman company. Dinner was awkward at first. Long silences, uncertain glances. Then Caleb asked, What's your favorite color? Eleanor blinked. Blue. I suppose yours red, like Ferret trucks. Do you like dinosaurs? Through a 6-year-old's endless questions, the tension dissolved. Day 19. 3 settings again. Day 20. Caleb told Eleanor about school. She listened like every word mattered. Day 21. Eleanor asked about Janelle's grandmother. Really asked, really listened. Day 22. Eleanor laughed at Caleb's joke. Small but genuine. Day 23. When Janelle stood to clear plates, Eleanor stopped her. Sit. Stop serving and sit with us. Day 24. Eleanor taught Caleb table manners. Elbows off the table, young man. Caleb giggled and straightened up. By week's end, dinner wasn't job. It was family. Strange, imperfect, but family. Week 5 brought changes. Ella Laner appeared in the kitchen more, asked about recipes, shared stories. Once she helped chop vegetables. Margot walked in and nearly dropped her clipboard. The library became Caleb's afternoon space. Eleanor would read while he did homework. Sometimes she'd help. Sometimes she'd just watch something unreadable in her expression. One afternoon, Eleanor's phone rang. She stepped into the hallway. Janelle overheard fragments. Tell the board I'll review Monday. Yes, the education initiative. No, Robert. I won't be swayed. Robert. Eleanor said it like it tasted bitter. She didn't explain. Janelle didn't ask. That evening, Janelle Googled Whitmore Foundation professional website. Mission statement about education and family services. Foundation assets $400 million. President Ella Laner Whitmore.